Hi, you guys. It's been a while, huh? Apologies in the beginning, just in case I end up tearing up. Um, so my dad is 93 years old, and he recently just passed. He was a veteran. He believed that the veterans were going to bury him. So apparently, according to his girlfriend, she was in her 80s. According to her, he said that he didn't have insurance because he felt the veterans would bury him. Okay, so with that being said, I called the VA's benefits department and learned that the veterans agencies are divided into 3 different departments. One takes care of the medical, one takes care of the benefits, and then there's another one I don't recall. I know. But anyway, so I called the VA benefits department, and I was told, first of all, because I didn't have any of his information, they said, we can't find him into the web base because he was in the military so long ago. We're still trying to update all of our computer records because back then they didn't have computers to store this information. So my dad's information, other than I believe his name, was not in the system as of yet. So if I could come up with any other information, then they can go ahead and fill that in. Once I did find the information, I did forward it to the person who said that I would be able to have it updated, and never heard back from the guy. So there's that. So anyway, I did reach out to the VA's benefit department, and I was told that he was not in their database. They did not have him as receiving any kind of pension, which would mean, and he did not pre-qualify himself for burial. And because of that, it was highly unlikely that he would be covered for reimbursement of any of his cremation or funeral costs, as far as like the funeral home is concerned. I think their reimbursement fee is about $795 at this point for those people who do qualify for that. And there is a surviving family or spouse amount that they do give you. I think it's like $250 or $350. I'm not 100% certain on the amount. I wasn't really too focused on that part of it, just because I was just trying to get my dad out of the coroner's office and sent over for the crematory services, considering it appears that's what he wanted. Thank goodness for that. I guess most of or I shouldn't say most, all of the agencies want to have his DD 214 form, of which you can't get a copy of that online unless you have a death certificate, of which you can't get a death certificate unless a certain amount of time has passed and it's been recorded with the county office, or you go through the crematory or the funeral home and they can go ahead and provide that form to you. So it's kind of like a big old circle of, oh my gosh, what do you do? So the whole point of this video right now is just to alert all of the military personnel of this fact. I did ask the benefits lady who I spoke to, my dad was under the impression that the veterans would bury him. He didn't know he had to go through a pre-qualification of his burial. He didn't know about the fact that all of the stuff wasn't covered. Yes, they do provide him with a service. They provide a flag. They will why can't I think of the word? I was just saying it. They will provide a headstone, and that sort of thing. All of those things at the National Cemetery they do provide. They do not provide the funeral home or the cremation services. So if someone should pass away who's not in the service at this point, then those are fees that are not covered. And I had asked her, why would he believe that he would have all this covered? And she says, well, I don't know. I mean, usually people will call in and ask what it is that they need to do. I said, so this is not something that you guys notify military of, if one of the steps that they need to take? She said, no, unfortunately, we do not take the initiative, I guess is the right word I should use, that they do not take the initiative to inform military that they do need to do these things. I did speak to the American Legion Society. That's a whole nother ball of wax. Apparently part of their purpose is to educate military as far as different things and inform them of different things and stuff and whatnot, is from what I understand. It was suggested that I join the American League Auxiliary Program in order to get my message out there and to help educate, military, that this is not something that is covered, since it is something just so, now it's close to my heart because of the situation that I'm finding myself in. I'm looking for resources to get him cremated so he can be laid to rest, but unfortunately I don't have the upfront resources for that. I did find one deal, and it was for $1,260, and they offered $100 off for veterinary services. So that's through Tulip, in case anyone wants to know. They were the lowest cremation service with the best reviews that I could find. So there's that. Otherwise, it is imperative that if you know someone who's in the military or you're in the military, please, and I wore this in honor of the military, please, please, please make sure that you are pre-qualifying your burials. Make sure that you have funds available for your family and loved ones, that it's available for them to get you cremated, or as far as a funeral home, I think those costs can go up to about $7,000, $8,000, depending on what kind of casket you're going to want. With Tulip, the 1160 does cover a plastic urn. It's nothing fancy, it's just a plastic urn in order to get the ashes from one place to another. The good thing about Tulip, I'm not affiliated other than, shopping around for cost. They do notify the Social Security Administration, and they do provide the the death certificate, which is usually a $24 charge. They do ship the ashes to wherever you want to have them shipped. It includes the transportation from the coroner's office and the storage that's needed in order to have the process done. Yeah, so that is the purpose of this message, is to alert and notify everyone that if you are military, or if you know any military people, please share the word that there are certain services that are not covered. There are some services that are covered for people who are in different places in the military, like if you're active and you pass away on active duty, or if you're receiving a pension, which my dad did not. He did get military housing at one point, but that's not considered part of the benefits side of things. He was getting medical treatment at Veterans Healthcare, but that's also not included in the parts of the benefit side of things. So please know, get yourself pre-qualified, let other people, they know they need to get pre-qualified, and set those funds aside so your family members and loved ones aren't trying to raise the funds in order to get it done. Yes, there's reimbursement that is allotted for certain situations, and unfortunately I don't believe that we fall underneath that category. So as far as any resources, if you don't have the money up front, here's another part. If you don't have the money up front, you can go to the county and they will provide these services as a unclaimed or unknown veteran of service, and they'll go ahead and take care of that part for you, but you do not get to have the and there's helicopters going ahead, circling my place. what was I saying? Oh, you will not have, you won't get the remains back. The remains will be transported to the nearest cemetery that they're working with, contracted in, and eventually it will be placed with one of the national cemeteries. If they don't have the information that this person was a veteran, they would go as being unknown. Where my dad is up north, the cemetery that I spoke with, who is also a funeral home, they said that they do have some people who do come out and they'll pick up the unclaimed, unknown veterans that happen to be sent over there. She says that there's, they had probably about 3 last month, that they have a group of people on motorcycles that will take the veterans' remains, and they will wrap them in flags, and they do a little motorcycle, what is it called? Brigade or concession, or I don't know what the word is, I apologize. And they will drive those remains out to the national cemetery in order to be properly buried with the other unclaimed and unknown military and veterans at that point, which is, I mean, a hugely nice service, because they're doing it just out of the kindness of their heart, and I appreciate that for what they're doing for those. It was suggested to me that I call the coroners and retract my claim to my dad, and then that way I can get the county services for that. I'm sure it works for people who don't have the funds in order to cover for that, but for me personally, because I am claiming, this is where it gets sentiment for me. I am claiming my dad, and I do feel that he should have the service, because he felt that he would be buried by the veterans, and I feel that that's important. And with that being said, I thank you for watching the video. I even more thank you for spreading the word, because it's so important. I will not be joining the American Legion's auxiliary program, because they do want monthly dues, and somehow all of the American Legions that I contacted for assistance, none of them have any funds to help contribute to getting my dad out of the coroner's office. They did request for me to get the DD-214, of which I drove up to my dad's house, which ended up being a 12-hour drive. I drove up there to get his DD-214. Thank goodness I was able to find it. Unfortunately, I used part of my rent money to do that, because I thought that the funds would be there for him. It was a possibility, it wasn't guaranteed, but I did go because I really thought that a possibility meant a yes. In my mind, that's just how it works. So, anywho, if you don't see videos from me for some time again, it's because I probably am homeless again, and still working on getting my dad's buried. Anywho, regardless of my circumstance, you always want to make it a great day. There's always something great in every single day that we can find. In my case, it's just for the simple fact that I am able to have another minute to make another phone call, or write another email, or spread awareness to the fact that the veterans aren't covered the way they think that they are. With that said, make it a great day, and again, thank you for being here.